Welcome to My New Day today. Listen, we are excited about this series coming up with our new friend, Donna Carter. And Bob, we're talking about friendships today. And one of my favorite quotes that I've heard from Donna is that so many friendships nowadays, with all our social network and everything, tend to be a mile long and an inch deep. And you can only survive so long on
How many
friendships.
friends do you have?
A million,
you know, like
pretty much
that's
a
the
million.
question. You know, you got Facebook. How many friends do you have? You know,
How many likes did you get on Instagram?
Oh, exactly. Oh, you like that, don't you?
No, I don't as much as some people. Audrey Fun is my name. Audrey Fun.
Yeah. But you know, we're in this social world, this social network world. And we do sometimes really miss the face-to-face and developing what a true friend is. Are you a true friend? And being one, and then also being able to nourish and develop friendships. Are you willing to be vulnerable enough, you know, to allow a friend into your life to know you? So our guest today, Donna Carter, she has a wonderful DVD series, as well authored the book, Friend Me.
Love it.
And
love
this
book.
is going to be a very helpful program because God's designed us for relationships.
And also it's going to be very helpful because I know that many of you watching today, part of our New Day family, you're lonely. And I know, I get your letters and your emails, and some of you, I just wish I had a friend who we could have deep conversation with and pray together and really have each other's backs. Well, you are in the right place at the right time because Donna is fabulous. She's going to give us principles. She's going to give us promises that God's given us. She's beautiful. So help me welcome Donna to our program today.
Thanks so much.
First time on our show. We're so excited to have you.
I'm so excited to be here.
You are strikingly beautiful, just to let you know. You just look beautiful on our set.
You,
look
you
like
are my new
there.
best friend.
Okay, see, it happens so quick, right? I love it. But can you just, as we get started, tell me, I read the book, and I highly recommend this book, but I don't want to give things away. I want you to tell your story.
All right.
So can you go ahead and tell us about really the passion behind why you wrote this book?
Well, it sort of started for me at my 40th birthday party.
Oh, I had over 40?
Well, just a couple of days. But I had, that was really a big lie.
Okay.
But I had invited my dearest friends, about 8 of them, to come to lunch with me. And they all thought, they were coming to, eat cake, sing happy birthday, all the usual things. But I actually had something very different in mind. I was struggling to forgive myself for a mistake that I had made, and I was determined not to make it again. So today I would tell each one of these women around the table how precious they were to me, the specific ways that God had used them to enrich my life, and how thankful I am for them, or I was for them. I felt compelled to do that because I remembered clearly missing that opportunity in a very precious friendship that began in my childhood. I met my dear friend Sonia when we were about 10. We were in 5th grade, and she arrived partway through the school year, and I'll never forget, she just looked so grown up and so groovy. she had this
you're aging yourself
when you say groovy, I know, but it was the word back
our
then.
language right now. We're okay. I love the word groovy.
She came in with this long wavy shag, which also dates me. Oval wire rim glasses, hip huggers, which are back in, and a macrame belt. And she was tall and curvy, and I was skinny, and I just admired her. And so I introduced myself after school, and that day she entered my life, and I entered hers, and our lives were never the same.
Wow.
We became instant best friends. And it wasn't
it's amazing how you can do this at a young age. I mean, these are grounded deep into our roots. Like my very best friend, I was 10.
Yeah. And often we find things so much harder when we get older, and we'll talk about that a little bit later on, because often what we need to do is the same thing we did when we were 10.
Exactly.
But we became very close friends very quickly. And early in that relationship, Sonia told me that her parents were getting a divorce. And it was very sad news, but even more sad for us was the fact that her mom wanted to move with her 3 girls to a different city. Well, Sonia and I were devastated. We couldn't imagine not seeing each other every day.
This is probably a person's worst fear in that grade, that your best friend move away. That's pretty much as bad as it gets.
As bad as it gets.
Yes.
And so I will never forget the day that we got down on our knees at my bedroom window and asked God if Sonia's mom could buy the house across the street from us, which had come up for sale, instead of moving to Lethbridge. Well, then we had to have some ammunition to present to Sonia's mom to convince her she should move 6 blocks within a city she wanted out of.
Like, how
we were
long have
about
you been
11.
friends? Oh, so you hadn't been friends for
not very long, no. And so we marched across the street to talk real estate with the owner. Can you imagine? These little girls we did. We showed up and we wanted to know the specs on the house. I'm sure, I can't imagine what that owner thought, but you know what? Sonia's mom bought that house.
Wow.
It was all wrong. It didn't have enough bedrooms. It didn't have a basement developed. All the things that she wanted, not to mention it wasn't in Lethbridge, which is where she wanted to live.
Right.
And I will never know, I guess, she's gone now, but I will never know what it was that changed such a radical, caused such a radical shift in plans on her part. But I can't help but believe that it had a lot to do with childlike faith and a great God who loves to give good gifts to his children. Living so close together meant that, we could spend even more of our time together.
Right across the street.
Right across the street. And when my parents took me to church, I took Sonia to church. And when my parents dragged me off to girls' club, I dragged Sonia, and we went to Bible camp together.
Now, was she in a Christian home as well?
No.
Okay.
So it was through those contacts that she chose for herself to become a Christ follower, grew a strong faith, and eventually fell in love with a young man named Brian. We were married.
Okay, wait a minute. I got to stop. You're going really fast.
Okay.
Did you guys fight at all?
I'm tracking.
I don't know. I'm tracking, but the girl in me says, "Come on." Like,
you know
were there
what?
any fights or
we
what?
really didn't.
She's
hardly
like
ever
7
fight.
years of girl drama. Like, is there any girl drama?
There was no girl drama. The closest we got to
now
girl
you
drama.
lost me.
Oh, come on. You know girl drama.
Oh, I know girl drama.
The closest we got to girl drama was when I had invited this older boy to be my date for grade 9 grad. And Sonia was going with a guy from school. Nobody asked me, so I had to ask someone from school, from church, and he was older than me, so I felt very flattered and important with this older boy.
He said yes.
He said yes, and we started hanging out in a relationship not quite mature enough to be called dating.
Yes.
And of course, wherever there was a Donna, there was a Sonia, so there were always 3 of us. But I didn't realize I was becoming the third wheel.
So the curvy girl took the guy?
The curvy girl took the guy.
Okay, there's the drama right there. You had to tell. The curvy
But you
girl
know
got the
what?
guy.
We didn't fight over it. When I finally figured out what was going on, I came back from vacation actually, and they were going out. And when I figured out what was going on, we talked about it with very little emotion.
Really?
And we decided no boy was worth jeopardizing our friendship.
Wow.
So we made a Dear John call. She was on one extension
Was
of
his
the
name
phone.
John?
Well, yes.
We're not telling that, son.
It's a common enough name. I think
There
we're
you go.
okay there. So we were both on the phone, and we made a Dear John call, and we broke it off and put our friendship first. It's kind of amazing.
That's actually incredible, because that could break up a lot of friendships right
I
there.
think so.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But that just shows where your heart was. I think that there was something very special.
We loved each other desperately. We really did. And then we were inseparable until we were 20. We both got married when we were 20 years old. Very mature 20-year-olds, I'm sure.
I felt so mature when I was 19 and married.
Yeah, and then you look back or you see your own child
kids
at
that
20
age.
and you go, oh my word, what were my parents thinking? Not that they had a choice. But.
No.
So I was her maid of honor, she was mine. We got married about a month apart. And
did the guys like each other too?
Yes, and are very good friends.
Okay.
Oh, that's another whole story. I wish we had way more time, but at my wedding reception, I introduced Sonia with the words of a Terry Jacks song that was popular at the time. It said, "Together we climbed hills and trees, learned of love and ABCs, skinned our hearts and skinned our knees." And it was so fitting, it was so descriptive
We had joy,
of our friendship.
we
Yes,
had
that's
fun,
the
we
one.
Had seasons in the sun.
That is the one.
Remember
But
that song, honey?
the next line
Hey, are
of
you
the
enjoying this
song-
girl talk, hon? How are we doing? Okay.
I'm in the story. I'm
Okay.
with you.
The next line of the song was not one I shared that day. It wasn't appropriate at the time. But sadly, it became appropriate. And the next line of the song is, "Goodbye, my friend, it's hard to die." So it was during Sonia's second pregnancy that she developed a cough that wouldn't go away. And eventually, after some tests, the doctors determined something wonderful. She was expecting twins, but also that she had non-Hodgkin's lymphoma, a very, very aggressive form of cancer. They were living in Germany at the time, serving with a mission there, and the doctors in Germany immediately scheduled Sonia for an abortion because the treatment protocol was very aggressive. They didn't know what would happen to the babies. This had never been tried on a pregnant woman. But Sonia and Brian weren't willing to do that, and they moved back to Canada and resumed cancer treatment here. Again, the doctors didn't know what would happen to the twins, but they knew she wouldn't survive the pregnancy. Yeah, you know, when you think, I mean, I didn't take Tylenol when I was pregnant, and here she's having chemotherapy. Wow. Well, the babies were born 3 months premature because the placentas were in rough shape from the chemotherapy. And they had profound breathing problems, like most preemies do, but otherwise, they were healthy and whole.
So as far as no brain damage?
Nothing, no deformities, none of the things they speculated about. It was absolutely amazing. However, right after they got back to Germany, the cancer returned. And so again, it was back to Canada, this time for a bone marrow transplant. And Sonia was cured of cancer. It never recurred. But ironically, 12 years later, her life was threatened by a series of rare complications of her treatment. And they had just moved back to Calgary, right into my neighborhood, actually, just 1 month before she died. No one knew she was dying at that point. They knew she was struggling, but the doctors still had things they could try. And I had been studying the life of David and that beautiful friendship that the Book of Kings tells us about Jonathan and David. And this moving scene had so deeply touched me of the last time Jonathan and David saw one another. Jonathan knew he would be killed in battle. And he asked David to make a solemn promise that when the dust had settled on his grave, that David would promise to take care of Jonathan's family. So on September 19th, 2000, I was on my way to the Foothills Hospital to make that promise to my friend. And as I stood in the lobby waiting for the elevator doors to open, they opened and her mom, Bonnie, and sister Paula walked out. We just sort of stood staring at each other for a minute, not really knowing what to say in the heaviness of the moment. We knew her body was failing fast. And then Paula said, "She's gone." I had missed saying goodbye by just moments.
Oh my.
And I had been to see her a few days before. I had helped her into a wheelchair, wheeled her out into the sun. She loved the sun. I told her I loved her. I hugged her. But there was still so much more to say.
Sure.
I wanted to make that promise to her, and I wanted to tell her how much she had meant to me, how I couldn't even imagine my adolescent years without her, and how she had provided for me in that secure friendship with no girl drama, such a beautiful foundation for all of the subsequent relationships in my life. And so that takes me back to the table at my birthday party, the reason why I was so determined to affirm these women who had been in my life for all the things that they had meant to me. Because I realize as a speaker, as I travel and speak to women, very few women share the experience of having a whole room full of close, trusted friends. It just so seldom happens.
This is really a chasm that we are feeling more and more, and I think it's masked by the fact that we have so much activity going on and so much, as we say, mile-long friendships going on, that we are really not even experiencing one or two of those deep friendships. And there is a place for friends apart, not in addition to our marriages and our families and everything. It's so healthy. God made us to do life together in a healthy community that's safe, so that we can have girlfriends. And as I was saying, there's a chasm. So many people that are watching right now are crying because they have never ever experienced what you had with Sonia, ever.
I know, and I think the reasons have a lot to do with our emotional health. They have to do, as you said, with busyness, with feelings of unworthiness, envy, things like inferiority problems. I think the biggest fear would be the fear of being truly known and maybe found wanting. Because if I present to you a mask and you don't like it, that's okay. I can put a different mask on. But if I stand before you naked, emotionally, and you don't like me and you reject me, then I have nothing else to offer you. And that's
Right.
terrifying for people.
Right.
Another reason that people give up, I think, on having a deep friendship is that they're so afraid of confrontation that when something goes wrong in the friendship, they're way too afraid to repair it. And so they just let it go. So, a lot of people really do struggle with relationships.
And now let's go back to the vulnerability, if you don't mind. And because in the book, I know you go into details about these, and I so appreciated the help that you gave, very practical help. But why is it, do you think, that we are in such a society? Has it always been like this, or is it getting worse, that we just have just not able to just be ourselves? Why is the whole mask thing such a big deal?
Well, I think the more emotional baggage we have, the more afraid we are of
When you say emotional
vulnerability.
baggage, so what do you mean by that?
Well, I mean
Like a dysfunctional family?
yeah, sure, a secret.
Okay.
That you're just sure you would be rejected for if somebody knew. Maybe that's going to be sexual abuse or an abortion or who knows what else. Feelings of shame. I think we're so certain that the skeletons in our closet are worse than the skeletons in everyone else's, you know? And so we go to church and we pretend that we don't even have dust bunnies in our closet, let alone skeletons. I love, there was this one pastor's wife I met, and after church one Sunday, somebody just tore into her and told her everything that was wrong with her. And she just patiently listened. And then she said, "Is that all? Because there's more. There's way more." And don't you love that?
I love it.
Don't you love that vulnerability?
Took a very strong, confident in the Lord to do something like that.
Yes, but that's where we have to go to have deep
so
relationships.
when you say we have to go there, does it start with our relationship with Jesus? Is that how does this whole, what happens if you're the one watching right now and you have the baggage and you know you have the baggage, but to cross that bridge seems like a complete impossibility?
You're right. I think that knowing who we are in Christ, knowing that we are children of God, that we are loved, that He couldn't love us more and He can't love us less, that we are as loved as Jesus is by the Father. If we really get who we are in Christ, then we're willing to say, okay, that stuff is under the blood, and I can now relate to you as this new creation.
I think it's so key what you said there, because I think that if I can be vulnerable with Him first, He is the safest place I can be vulnerable to tell my secrets. If I can start there, if I can start at the place where I know I won't be rejected, and that I can allow Him to love me in my dark places and the secrets and things, my unlovable, like it feels unlovable in those places. If I can let Him love me first, I think that if we know we are loved, we will attract that love then to ourselves, and we'll be able to love others. We'll attract the friendships.
And when we love and accept ourselves, then we can love and accept others.
And it seems like it's all of a sudden, when you break the dysfunction, it's broken, because when you start there, then all of a sudden, as a healed heart, friendships don't even take work as much. I mean, I know there's things we can do, but all of a sudden it becomes a natural outflow of our relationships that we can be vulnerable with others.
Because we're free.
Oh,
right?
yeah, there's always
we're
that.
free. We're
Yes.
free from the past.
Right.
Either we haven't been broken in the first place. I mean, in all honesty, I grew up in a beautiful home, and I remember my first dating relationship, which is my husband.
Oh, that makes it way less awkward to talk about.
I was so vulnerable. It blew him away. He just didn't even know what to do with me.
Is it because of your family?
Because I had never been hurt. So it was easy for me to be vulnerable. Now, of course, I'm 52 years old and I have been hurt.
Right.
You don't walk that long on this planet without being hurt.
Right.
But as you say, going to Jesus for healing, for forgiveness, then we sever that baggage. We disconnect the trailer hitch that has the convoy connected to us, and then we're free to relate in more positive ways.
Yes, exactly. As we progress, I know that God created us for relationships. I mean, that's obvious. Is there something in a practical way that we can do? I mean, I've got you started now, but I think we're going to take a quick break. I think that's what we'll do. We'll take a quick break.
All right.
And I just want to recommend this book to everyone who's watching Friend Me, Turning Faces into Lasting Relationships. Donna has taken her story of Sonia, which, by the way, actually isn't over. It sounded like it was the end of the story. We're going to be hearing more about what happened in Sonia's family as the programs progress. Donna's going to be with us for the next 2 shows. But I highly recommend you get this book, because the discussion questions at the end of each chapter are extremely soul-searching to get you to the place where you can deal with this emotional baggage that we're talking about. Not just talk about it, but in a safe place with the Lord, ask the questions So if you've been struggling with friendships and you don't feel like you have deep friendships, or you're just feeling that loneliness, which is, you are not alone. I'm going to tell you right now, so many people feel lonely right now. You're not a weirdo. You're not, you know, some outcast because you're lonely. It happens to so many people. And so you can get down to the depths of it as you get this book and get this material. And I know that the Lord wants to journey with you to a place where you can love your life.
Good.
We're going to take a quick break, and Donna will be back to close the program right after this.
One of the greatest gifts that you could ever be able to develop, I believe, would be a friendship. And a friendship is something that is developed and nurtured and, you know, takes tender care. A relationship is the mutual sharing of life, one with the other. And so, but it's mutual. It's giving and it's receiving. And that's where we've been called. We've been called into the family of God. You know, we are jointly fit well with one another, and so we relate, and we're unique and we're different with one another, but we need each other. And I think that's something that Donna has been able to express so very well today, that these relationships are vital, they're necessary. But we've asked Donna to take a few moments and just help us to apply what we've heard today to our lives, that we might have healthy, lasting friendships. Donna.
Well, the New Testament in Colossians and again in Corinthians talks about the body of Christ, how altogether Christ is the head of the body, and those of us who are Jesus followers make up all the other parts, the cells, the appendages of that body. And the reality is that one body part can't be healthy or grow or heal or even function apart from the rest of the body. When I was a young girl, I had a friend named Terry who was involved in a very serious car accident, and her arm was terribly mangled. And when she was rushed into emergency, the doctors thought the only solution was to amputate that arm. But then some brilliant surgeon had an idea. He thought, you know, if we could lay her arm across her abdomen and sew it into that skin, that eventually, connected to an adequate blood supply, enough new tissue would generate that arm could be separated from the body. And it may not ever look exactly like the other arm, but the nerves can survive that way, and she would at least have partial use of her hand. And it worked.
Wow.
What a graphic picture. We need each other. We can't be whole unless we are part of the body and functioning within the body. So I want to ask you today, do you have someone in your life that you need to speak with, that you need to take the risk of maybe having a difficult conversation in order to make sure that you can stay connected in the body? Is there a friend that you need to affirm and thank for the place that the part that she has played in your life in making you the person that you are today? Think about who is in your life and what you need to do in order to go deeper into that relationship.
Good. Donna, thank you. That's challenging.
That is
right there. You're all taking down notes.
Yeah.
Because you right away, you know who it is. It's like, oh no.
And
but
then at first I need to affirm too.
Yeah. And there might be people in your life, just like Donna did on her 40th birthday. They gather them together, and you just need to affirm them and say, you know how valuable you are to me? You know, that might be the easier place to start. There's relationships and friendships that need to be mended, I understand, but there are also ones there where people have been strong for you. Affirm those, you know, and then begin to deal with the hurts and the pains of your heart and life. Today's program, extremely helpful. Donna will be with us again tomorrow on My New Day.
Yes.
There's more information on our website. I'd please encourage you to go there as well. The book is available.
Yes, and we're so thankful to you as our New Day family. Thanks for joining us, and we'll see you next time right here.
We'll see you.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.